You can retire on a fraction of what you are currently spending. Here's how. Hello everyone, my name is Zach and welcome to On Cash Flow, where I help you become a master of your own cash flow. Now let's get started. So really quickly, I retired at the age of 27. And when I was developing my early retirement plan, I calculated how much it would cost me for my new lifestyle, not necessarily the lifestyle that I was living at the time, because a few changes that I made led to some dramatic differences in how much my lifestyle cost. And I didn't have to sacrifice any fun or entertainment. In fact, I more than doubled the amount of spending that I did on fun and entertainment and travel versus when I was working for a living. And I want to share with you my full journey to financial independence video. I'm going to redirect you to that video at the end of this video, so please wait till the end. Here's the big picture on how retiring early can cost significantly less than working for a living. We have some major categories here of housing, transportation, food, taxes, and some other miscellaneous things that cost dramatically less when you are retired versus when you are working. And let's first start with probably the biggest spending category that everyone has, and that is housing. When you choose to retire early, you don't have to live somewhere with high-paying jobs, aka expensive big cities. You can choose to retire somewhere where the cost of housing is significantly lower. Rent can be significantly lower. The housing prices for you to buy a home can be significantly lower. You are not tied to where you are able to work and earn a high amount of income. For example, in my situation, I moved from a location with a cost of living of 125.8 to a place with an average cost of living of 79.5. That is a 36.8% difference or decrease in the average cost of spending. And that is given with a US average of 100. So I moved from a high cost of living area to a very low cost of living area. Another way that housing can be significantly less when you're retired early is that you can take the time and select a place that is going to be good for house hacking. That is taking your home and renting it out on a smaller scale so you can generate income to offset your housing costs. And I personally did this when I retired early in a new area. I chose a place that had a finished basement that was basically like a duplex where I rent out the bottom and I live on the top floor. I'm able to generate a little bit of extra income from renting that out, thus substantially reducing my out-of-pocket costs for housing. And not only that, but when you retire early, there's something that you might not think of, and that is you're no longer expected to live in a certain area. You're no longer expected to be in a certain neighborhood. You're no longer expected to have a house that's whatever certain size. That is something that is actually true in our society, and these are no longer expected to you when you choose to retire early. The next biggest category is transportation. Retiring early can have a huge effect on your cost of transportation because first off, let's say you're a married couple, you no longer have to have two cars. It's as simple as that. When you have two people who are both working, they both have commutes, you're gonna have to have two cars in most American cities, right? Unless you're living somewhere with some great public transportation, which is few and far between. Now that you're retired early, you don't need to. And that's automatically gonna cut your transportation costs at least in half. Not only that, but you don't have those commutes anymore. And it actually is very expensive. That daily commute, 5 days a week, adds up to a lot. No longer having a fixed commute is a dramatic decrease in your transportation costs. And just like with housing, if you were a working professional, you might have been expected to have a certain class of vehicle. You might be expected to have a certain kind of car. And if you don't have that kind of car, it could actually affect your career. This is no longer the case when you choose to retire early. So you can drive a pretty basic, very reliable vehicle and get around just fine on a fraction of the cost when it comes to transportation. So while housing and transportation costs can go down dramatically, one cost that is going to stay the same for you, no matter what, is the cost of hitting the like button on this video. And that is $0. If you're enjoying this video so far, please make sure you hit the like button. It really does help me out and I would really appreciate that. Okay, but seriously, let's get on to the next one, and that is your food costs. Yes, even your food costs go down when you choose to retire early. You might be eating the same amount of food, but your costs are going to be lower. First off, you're going to have so much more time and energy to cook at home. And that's probably what you should be doing for the vast majority of your meals because it's just healthier and it's a lot more cost efficient. Another thing that most working professionals don't really think about is how often those lunch dates come up. How often do you have to go to lunch with a client? How often are you expected to go to lunch with your coworkers, with your boss, or whomever. All of those little surprise lunch dates, they do add up. And it's just something that is a non-factor for the most part when you choose to retire early. Another one is really fun, and that is your taxes. More specifically, taxes on your income. Just like you can choose to move somewhere with lower cost housing, you can choose to move somewhere with no income tax or low income tax. You can choose a state specifically for that. Secondly, when you are retired, you are able to control how much income you generate through how much income you choose to spend. You can choose to generate a certain amount of income, a certain type of income, and you can be taxed at 0% on that income. I think for most people choosing to retire early, it's pretty darn easy to remain in a 0% federal tax bracket. So right then and there, if you can eliminate your state and federal income taxes, that's a lot cheaper of a lifestyle. But it doesn't just stop there. If you choose to retire early and you choose to actually stop working for a living, then you're not going to be paying FICA taxes, or if you were self-employed, self-employment taxes. Now, the type of income that you might be generating in early retirement is not going to be subject to FICA. You're not going to be paying those Social Security or Medicare taxes. Income such as interest, dividends, capital gains, rental income, all of that is not generally going to be subject to FICA taxes. Now, this leads me to the big question here. I want to know from you in the comments below. What are some other things that cost less when you retire early, when you become financially independent versus when you are working for a living? Do you have any other ideas? Please let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear what you have to say. But I have another category, and that is just like some other or miscellaneous things that are just going to cost less for you than versus when you are working for a living. And one that I like to bring up is the amount of flexibility that you have when it comes to taking vacations or when it comes to traveling. Now that you are retired early, you do have a lot more flexibility in the dates, the times, where you go, all that kind of stuff. And so travel, you can do a lot more of it. Vacations, you can take a lot more of them, and they will be a lot lower cost because you are able to be flexible with all those dates and times. Another one is when it comes to your clothing. You might not think about that, but you probably buy some certain amounts of clothing that you have to wear that's more appropriate for your working career. Me, now that I don't have one, I can wear these plain black t-shirts that you might have noticed in all my videos. And so that has become a signature of who I am, the plain black t-shirts guy. Another expense that can go down, or you can just get more of, is entertainment and fun. Now that you have some more flexibility in your day and the dates, you're able to do a lot more entertainment activities or fun activities during the most advantageous time. You can take advantage of deals that are only available on certain days, only available during certain times, all because you are flexible and you are not fixed to that 9-to-5 schedule. Anytime I go to travel somewhere, and if there's like a museum I want to go to, I'll always look up and see if they have like a free museum day, which is usually the case. That's a good example of how you can get something for free when someone else is paying, $15 for admission. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I want to share with you my full journey to financial independence. If you haven't seen that video already, I'll really appreciate it if you check that video out. Okay, it's going to pop up on the screen right after I get off the screen. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Zach from OnCashflow.com, and I hope to see you next time.